In this episode of Vinyl Haul, I've got metal releases that are all from 2023, most of which in the last few months. I'm covering most of my bases here today with grind, speed, epic, doom, thrash, heavy, and black, as well as a brand new band compilation from a couple subgenres not typical for its country of origin. So as always, you should stick around. First up is a pairing of classic EPs from British extreme metal band Carcass. This is Tools of the Trade / the Heartwork EP, originally released separately in 1992 and 1994 respectively, but now reissued on one record in 2023 by Earache Records. So let's start with Tools of the Trade. It's a 4-song EP with its title track being the only then new song on the record. The other 3 are either taken from studio albums or in one case slightly reworked. I always felt the title track could have somewhat fit on their third album, Necroticism, Descanting the Insalubrious, with some relentless riffing, blasting drums, and snarling vocals, but it also has its melodic parts that I feel get along better with the Heartwork material, so maybe it's a bit of a bridge track between the two eras. Anyways, the next track, Incarnated Solvent Abuse, is actually from Necroticism, which brings in some menacing crunch, rapid tempo shifts, and distorted growls. The latter half of this side, both Phiosissified, Still Rotten to the Gore, a re-recording of a track from their first album, Recaputrefaction, and Hepatic Tissue Fermentation 2, whose original version is on a compilation album called Pathological, bring more of that early grindcore sound into the mix, though by today's standards that might fall more into the category of death grind. Overall, Tools of the Trade is an excellent documentation of where Carcass was in its early years, and before they'd fully jump into, let's say, rather different waters. Speaking of which, the flip side of this release is the Heartwork EP, having obvious ties to their fourth full-length album, Heartwork. The album is considered part of their melodic death metal mid-period and was the only Carcass album on a major label, such being Columbia. The EP of the same name shares a title track with its LP companion, as well as 2 previously unreleased tracks, such being This Is Your Life and Rot and Roll. It's different from the material before in terms of not only the more melodic passages mentioned before, but also tighter playing, better production, and occasionally more complex and even groove-laden segments. You should also know that this is the complete track listing of both EPs. I know sometimes you buy records and compilations in particular, and sometimes they omit tracks because of space constraints on the vinyl, but that is definitely not the case here. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP red. It is limited to 300 copies. Yep. Also get a printed inner sleeve, very shiny one. Pictures of the band, as well as some very brief credits in the corner. Likewise for the other release here. As for favorites, definitely Incarnated Solvent Abuse from Tools of the Trade, as well as Heartwork from the Heartwork EP side. Anyways, I'd say that Carcass's classic era, minus Swan Song of course, is well sampled on these 2 EPs, now on one record, which is super convenient. In fact, if you haven't explored any of the pre-surgical steel material from Carcass, this double EP set would be a great way to get a taste of it. Truthfully, I did buy this for Tools of the Trade only because I've always really dug that EP, but I'm good with the Heartwork EP material as well. Nice to have it along for the ride. Next is the 15th studio album from British heavy metal band Raven. This is All Hell's Breaking Loose, released in 2023 by Silver Lining Music. So right away, the speed factor has definitely been turned up since their last album, Metal City, bringing this album a bit more intensity, as well as more moments for complete and utter shred. Of course, this is also Raven, so prepare for anthemic choruses and some of those left-turn musical moments they're often known for. Some of this intensity might also have something to do with their drummer, Mike Heller, who's a total beast on the kit and keeps the tempos coming left and right. Given that, the Gallagher brothers can easily match that insanity note for note, as there's absolutely no slowing down for these guys in their mid-60s. They can easily keep up with any modern speed metal band out there without any flinching. Also happy to hear that John's vocals are still strong and piercing and completely unhinged as ever, including some interesting harmonies and straight singing at times. Throughout this album, there's ample evidence of a band that refuses to let up or phone it in, and that's really what's at the core of what makes this record shine. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP, transparent green. It is limited to 200 copies. Yeah. This edition also came with a signed print from the band, right there. And some of the artwork repeated on the back. And of course, a printed inner sleeve, full lyrics, some more pics, artwork, that is. There you go. I should mention that the green variant was a bit pricey at $57, so if that's too much for you, there's also a black variant that's definitely cheaper. I would recommend that, just because I was a little crazy buying the green anyways. Anyways, favorites include Medieval, Turn of the Screw, and Go for the Gold. Also music videos for Surf the Tsunami, All Hell's Breaking Loose, and Go for the Gold. Check out all three at the Raven YouTube channel. So, I definitely had favorable things to say about the last record, but it's really obvious that this latest album is leaps above that in terms of songwriting, punch, and all-out ferocity. In fact, I would really love to hear this material live, as it's clearly suited for that. Anyways, I would highly recommend that you don't let this one slip by. Definitely check this one out. Great stuff. Next up is a compilation of bands entitled No Future, No Past, Finnish Speed and Thrash Metal Explosion, 1986 to 1992. Released in 2023 by Svart Records. So 18 different bands on this comp, ranging from having a whole lot of hardcore and punk influences, down to emulation of already established thrash and speed metal bands, both from America and Europe. In fact, in more than a few of these bands, I'm specifically hearing early Creator, but also German thrash in general. As you can imagine, the sound quality differs from track to track, as they were obviously recorded in different places and at different times. And to be fair, some of these tracks are from demos, but still sound pretty decent. Also, some bands are better than others, with some suffering from sloppy playing, awkward riffing, and bad production. If there were a finished version of the Scrap Metal Comp series, a few of them would definitely be on there, for sure. But overall, there are plenty of competent and heavy bands on this one. Oh, and you'll also get more than a couple acoustic intros or passages here, but that's pretty much par for course in the genre and the time period. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 2 LP gray. It is limited to 250 copies. There you go. It also has a booklet in it, a pretty cool booklet. It contains band histories, photos, and song details. It's a nice zine-style format there for you. Just do a look at a few of the pages there. There. Definitely remember my old zine days, the old cut and paste. There you go. And the back for you. Also had a gatefold with all the bands listed and their then lineups for you right there. It also appears that there was a predecessor to this comp called Real Delusions, Finnish Speed and Thrash Metal Explosion, 1987 to 1991. It came out in 2018 and was available on vinyl, but sold out on that format pretty quickly. Either way, if this second installment of the series interests you, then you might also want to track down that first comp. Anyways, favorites here include ARG with Pesticide, Mayhem with Die Drunk, Crashed with This Man, and Tetragon with For the Jackal's Sake. Also, I gotta mention what is easily the best song title in this comp. From the band Mengele, we get Few Lines and Tones About Dr. Mengele and His Railway Selections. Amazing. I don't know, does it sound better in Finnish? Who knows? But if you know, you should definitely let me know, because I don't speak Finnish. Anyways, this was definitely a blind buy based purely on my curiosity of what Finnish thrash and speed from the classic era would sound like. Plus, I really dig these kind of comps with more obscure metal bands on them. So there's that. And like any effective compilation album does, I'll be checking into some of these bands in the future, of course, and maybe find some additional gems in their full-length releases, if those even exist. Next is the fourth studio album from Swedish epic doom metal band Sorcerer. This is Reign of the Reaper, released in 2023 by Metal Blade Records. So the album kicks in right away with martial drumming and triumphant riffing, echoing out to a driving Judas Priest-like main guitar line, followed by the strong and powerful vocals of Anders Engberg. I've said before that he has an undeniable Tony Martin quality to his voice, and that's definitely here. though I do feel he's guided by the spirit of Dio as well. Hell, I go out on a limb and say Engberg is one of my favorite modern metal singers, and putting a gun to my head, I might even say my favorite of the modern era, period. Anyways, along with that forceful tenor, we also get the dueling leads from Neiman and Hallgren, which add an occasional neoclassical shred, but also provide some haunting doom riffing at other times. Lots of interesting flourishes throughout the tracks as well, chiefly in the layering and atmospherics. Keyboards are here as well, tastefully but not overdone by guest musician and Mesro bassist Connie Wellen. I should also mention the runtime here at 47 minutes, which is the shortest Sorcerer album to date. For comparison, their previous album, Lamenting of the Innocent, was a whopping 70 minutes. But I feel at 47 minutes, their latest album still gets the job done, though I've also not really had a problem with this band going a little long on albums, mostly because their style of music kind of lends to longer tracks. On this record, track times are still epic length, but just fewer tracks instead. And since I bought the 2 LP deluxe version of this album, I also got their Reverence EP as record 2. Reverence originally came out in 2021 in both CD and digital formats, but I'm pretty sure that this is the first time it was released on vinyl. Anyways, you get 4 cover songs here: Gates of Babylon, originally by Rainbow; When Death Calls, originally by Black Sabbath; Crusader, originally done by Saxon; and Waiting for Darkness, originally by Ozzy Osbourne. Of course, Sorcerer adds a bit of doom to these covers, notably the Rainbow and Saxon tracks. When Death Calls is from Sabbath's Headless Cross record, which means Tony Martin, which makes a whole lot of sense given what I've already said. The Ozzy track is a deep cut from Bark at the Moon, and probably the most unexpected choice on this EP, but still pretty cool. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is Dawn Sun Marbled. It is limited to 500 copies and a European exclusive. They're also numbered on the hype sticker. I have number 456 of 500. This variant also includes 2 double-sided posters. Here's the one for Reverence. There's the artwork there for Reverence. But I also like the parodies of the album covers they did here as well. For the covers, you can see Long Live Rock and Roll, Headless Cross, Bark at the Moon, and Crusader there parodied. Pretty cool. Also, the second poster here with art. Let's see, yeah, there it is. They're rather large posters. Artwork from the cover of the Reign of the Reaper album, as well as a photo of the band on the reverse. Also get a postcard with that same picture of the band on it. Nothing on the back. And also an insert with full lyrics. And more lyrics and credits, as well as a picture of the band. As for favorites, definitely Morning Star, great track, also Eternal Sleep, and The Underworld. But realistically, the entire album is pretty great. As for the EP, my favorite of the covers, hands down, is Waiting for Darkness, but it's also one of my favorite Ozzy songs. So there's that. Anyways, music videos for Morning Star and Reign of the Reaper, you can watch both of those at the Metal Blade Records YouTube channel. So another solid offering of Sorcerer's signature power-laden epic doom metal, albeit a bit shorter record this time around. It's musically on par with previous efforts, though I can't help notice more compelling guitar parts than on past albums, not to mention a greater use of range from Engberg. I might say this is a better album overall than Lamenting of the Innocent, an album I already like quite a bit, and I also covered in a previous vinyl haul if you're interested in seeing that. Anyways, I can easily say that Reign of the Reaper is getting multiple spins on my turntable and comes highly recommended. Next up is the second studio album from international heavy metal band KK's Priest. This is The Sinner Rides Again, released in 2023 by Napalm Records. So album number 2 for ex-Judas Priest guitarist KK Downing, as well as ex-Judas Priest singer Ripper Owens, does cover some of the same familiar territory of the debut, but with some improvements. Some of the lead and general riff exchanges between Downing and Mills are more crushing here, not to mention a greater precision and some really cool shred moments. Likewise, Ripper's voice, which is generally impressive, is even more so on this record, not to mention more aggressive. I gotta say, he really has differentiated himself, comparatively speaking, over the years from Rob Halford's sound and style, which I can appreciate. Though Owens does have his few emulating moments on this record. See if you can spot the wink and nod to Dissonant Aggressor on Hymn 66, for example. I'm also getting a more epic feel on this album than on the last, as well as some added melodicism, which I totally dig. Even catching some cleaner singing moments, notably on The Sinner Rides Again and Wash Away Your Sins, showing Ripper's range a bit better. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP, orange transparent. It is limited to 300 copies, which is a Napalm Records mail order exclusive edition. There you go. Also have printed inner sleeve, picture of the band, more of the graphic from the front. Also a gatefold with full lyrics for all the tracks there. Some nice art layout there as well. Favorites on this one, got a few of course. Reap the Whirlwind, as well as Hymn 66 and Keeper of the Graves. All three great songs, but there are other ones as well. Anyways, music videos for Hymn 66, One More Shot at Glory, Reap the Whirlwind, and Strike of the Viper. You can check all those out at the Napalm Records YouTube channel. So despite the fact that Downing might fare better outside the self-imposed shadow of his former band and strive more towards autonomous efforts, I do recognize he was also a founding and crucial member of Judas Priest for decades, and that's going to be in his musical DNA, so it's going to make its way into KK's Priest as well. I know that. But it's hard to look away from blatant referencing and song titles and lyrics, and I suppose the band name as well. I mean, is it necessary? I get it, it's his band and his choice, but I'd like to see and hear less Priest and more KK, if that makes any sense. To be fair, it's less of a complaint this time around, so maybe keep that in mind. In any case, The Sinner Rides Again is a conspicuous step up from the first album, for all the reasons I mentioned, and it gives me hope for an even better third release. But this one is still well worth the listen. Next is the 5th studio album from international thrash metal band Nervosa. This is Jailbreak, released in 2023 by Napalm Records. So straight out the gate, thrashing riffs and pummeling drums lead us to the vocals of founding guitarist Preeka Amaral, who, as of this album, doubled up by also taking over singing duties. Really digging her deep growls and screeching yells, lots of power to go along with the chaotic riff changes, the plethora of head-banging moments, and some killer shred to boot. Speaking of, Nervosa now has 2 guitarists for the first time, the other being Helena Katina. She and Preeka work very well together, bringing some harmonizing and other dynamics into the band's guitar sound that simply wasn't possible before. Definitely a plus. Still getting some of those death metal leanings from the last album, though maybe traded out a little more often for their core thrash sound. Also feeling the 4 minutes or less per track really gives each song an urgency. Perfect for thrash. And like last time, we also have some guests on this record. Gary Hope plays the solo on When the Truth Is a Lie, and Lena Scissorhands does partial vocals on Superstition Failed. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP Violet. It is limited to 400 copies. It's also considered the Napalm Records mail order edition. Also get an insert, full lyrics, pics of the band, more lyrics on the reverse, and gatefold with pictures of the band. Actually, one picture, a much bigger one. And you probably like that. I know I do. Anyways, favorites on this one include Suffocate, Behind the Wall, and When the Truth Is a Lie. Also get music videos for Endless Ambition, Seed of Death, Jailbreak, and Elements of Sin. You can see all 4 of those at the Napalm Records YouTube channel. So for a band that has gone through 3 near-complete lineup changes and still managed to bounce back every time, Jailbreak is a modern thrash album that lacks nothing from the member swaps. In fact, with 2 guitarists as well as Preeka on vocals, this easily matches Perpetual Chaos and at times even surpasses it. Check it out. Next up is the 15th studio album from French avant-garde metal band Blut Aus Nord. This is Disharmonium Nahab, released in 2023 by Debamore Morty Productions. So now we have the second installment in the Disharmonium cycle, this time involving the H.P. Lovecraft story The Dreams in the Witch House, and its main character, whose secret name is Nahab, hence the album title. Like its musical predecessor, it's a bit of an atonal journey, moving between harsh black metal landscapes, dissonant passages, unsettling atmospherics, and hints of the melodic here and there. The album does have an almost cinematic score quality, but only if the movie is about losing yourself in another dimension filled with terror and darkness. Lots of delay, reverb, and layering to secure the otherworldly impressions throughout as well. Vocals are here, but they too blend into the ambiance, weaving in and out with a creaking, raspy, and/or ethereal quality, depending on where in a track you are. Infrequently, you'll also get moments that are what could be roughly called jazz, but of a blackened and chaotic sort. A lot of that so-called blackened jazz is from the distant-sounding tremolo picking and rapid double bass and snare pairing, similar to the previous album. I suppose if it's not broke, why fix it? Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP, Black and Silver Galaxy. And you really can't tell which side is which. Same graphic and no text on both sides. We also get a poster in theme with the artwork from the cover. Definitely dig this one for sure. Great art. And of course, it is in a gatefold with more of that artwork and a couple H.P. Lovecraft quotes. As for favorites, definitely Mental Paralysis, as well as Queen of the Dead Dimension and The Black Vortex. Check all three of those out. Also, we have a music video for the track Nameless Rites, as well as audio clips for The Endless Multitude and Queen of the Dead Dimension. Watch those at the Debamore Morty Productions YouTube channel. So being a huge fan of horror movies and soundtracks, not to mention extreme metal, I was pretty much the audience for this type of album, which is why I bought the last installment of the series, known as Undreamable Abysses. Now, is Nahab really that different from that other album? Inherently, not much. Or perhaps it's better to say that there are enough subtleties that differentiate the two, at least a bit. No doubt, like its creator, I do treat the two albums, and likely the one to come, as a unifying work, which is to say that I'll probably be listening to both back-to-back on occasion. Maybe I'll even pull out my copy of The Dreams in the Witch House and revisit that story with this auditory horror in my ears. And who knows, maybe even Great Cthulhu will pay a visit. Won't that be fun? So just a couple other records I picked up that I have less to talk about, but are certainly worth showing. Let's start with the latest 7-inch single from international death metal band Stygian Dark. This is Forensic, released in 2023 by Slaughterhouse Records. Some might remember I covered their debut full-length from 2021 called Gore Lords of War, and had some pretty decent things to say about it. This release is a 2-song single containing the tracks Buried Before First Light, and of course the title track Forensic. Both tracks are up-tempo and relentless, with Forensic being my favorite of the two, but both are pretty good. Definitely check into this if you're a fan of the many projects of Benediction vocalist David Ingram and guitarist Raga Johansson, because yep, they're on this. And just to show you what's in here, we have an insert with the lyrics, some credits, and picture of the band. Also the vinyl. It is a nice, lovely splatter there for you. Side A. And logo on the reverse there for you. And the back for you. Also, I picked up this Venom Live album. This is live from the Hammersmith Odeon Theater. It was released in 2018 by High Roller Records. Sometime back, I showed another Venom Live album that was basically the Seventh Date of Hell home video concert put to record. Well, this is more or less the same thing, only with their Live in 85 home video concert. Overall, more convenient to listen to it on this format, or if I don't have time to watch the show. Plus, admittedly, I will collect anything Venom from about 1979 to 1985, and this clearly qualifies. Anyways, to show you, the record is black. Also digging the parody of the Neat Records layout and logo there. Also on the B-side. Let's get the usual High Roller Records list of releases. As you can tell, they have quite a few of them. And also this really cool booklet in here. I really dig this a lot. There's some pictures of the band, but it's also kind of the story of Venom is in here too. Get some other great stuff here. Yeah, someone got some great shots here. Love this booklet. It's a nice addition to the live album. A bit more there for you. Classic era, for sure. And nothing right there. And there's the reverse for you. Very cool. Venom, live from the Hammersmith Odeon. Cool show, too. So a fairly diverse haul this month. Definitely psyched to have picked up that Finnish, Speed, and Thrash comp, as well as the Blut Aus Nord and Sorcerer albums. Hell, let's just say I'm happy with everything I got this time around. But of course, that's just my haul. What about yours? What did you get recently that's got you excited? Or maybe you got something you completely hate at this point and now avoid like the plague. Let me know that too, as well as any album or band recommendations. I always appreciate that. Leave all of that in the comments below. And just so you know, my typical non-metal vinyl haul for December won't be happening this time around since I picked up so little outside of my usual genre. So count on next month's to be the usual metal vinyl haul. And maybe next December I'll go back to the non-metal thing if I have enough of that to even talk about. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Of course, if this is your first time to my channel, my name is Matt. This is the Accusation Network, where each and every week I do videos on metal vinyl collecting. I also cover the subjects of classic and modern metal as well. If you like the sound of that, definitely give this video a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and share my videos with some of your friends. Anyways, thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next video.